Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the show. This is going to be a fun one. We are going to be siphoning players off of other people's bench because they're going to have great season-long value, and we're going to be stashing these guys for the rest of the season and for the fantasy playoffs because late in the season, these guys are going to break out, and we've got to get them off other people's bench before they break out and become untradeable. And also, some of these players might be available in the waiver wire. So let's get started. Van Jefferson's the first player on my list. This guy is actually going to be on the waiver wire in a lot of leagues because he hasn't played yet. But look, this is a guy who he was the second most targeted wide receiver on the Rams last year, right? So we know that the minute he comes back, he's going to get targeted heavily. This offense needs a spark, and they need a field stretcher. They desperately need a field stretching wide receiver because they're just force-feeding Cooper Kupp underneath and on the occasional deep route because it's the only way they've been able to move the ball. They need a legitimate field stretcher who can run deep routes and provide great deep ball throwing ability for Matt Stafford. So Van Jefferson is that guy. He's going to come back. He's going to stretch the field. He's going to see healthy red zone target share because he actually does get targeted heavily within the red zone. He's going to be the second most targeted wide receiver on the team. This is going to increase the overall efficiency of the offense and make them a lot better. And for Van Jefferson himself, he has the potential to produce great yardage totals. He had 850 receiving yards last year and was actually a pretty darn good wide receiver for fantasy. So the minute he comes back, he's going to be extremely valuable. Right now, you can literally get him off the waiver wire. You don't have to pay anything to get him. Get this guy, stash him on your bench. He is going to be extremely beneficial from a season-long standpoint the minute he comes back. Next player on my list is going to be George Pickens. Now, we're probably going to have to siphon George Pickens off of somebody else's bench because people are starting to catch on. George Pickens is an alpha dog. He is going to be one of the best wide receivers in the coming years. This guy has 497 air yards. He's already seen 12 deep targets, which is second in the NFL. He's getting targeted downfield like crazy. He has a 17.1 yards per target. His average depth of target is 17.1. He's getting targeted downfield like crazy. And the minute that Kenny Pickett stepped in, George Pickens showed his tremendous abilities. He's had 8 targets in each of the past 2 weeks, and he's made some really awesome contested catches and some really just highlight reel catches as we've seen this year. We know that this guy has tremendous potential, and I think that he's going to take over as by far and away the best wide receiver in the Steelers wide receiver room. Get this guy on your bench while you have the chance, guys. He hasn't really had that huge explosion game yet, but it's coming soon. So siphon him off your opponent's bench before you lose your opportunity to do it. Next player on my list is going to be Alec Pierce. Now, Alec Pierce has 5 targets, 6 targets, 9 targets, all in each of the past 3 games. His target share has been going up every single week. He's had back-to-back games with 80-plus receiving yards. He's starting to potentially become Matt Ryan's favorite target. I know that everyone just assumes that Michael Pittman Jr. is going to dominate the target share for this team, but last game, when they were in pivotal situations, third and longs, high-leverage situations, everything like that, Matt Ryan was looking for Alec Pierce, not Michael Pittman Jr. So I have very good reason to believe that Alec Pierce is about to absolutely explode in this offense, and he's in the waiver wire in a lot of leagues. The fact that Michael Pittman Jr. is being rostered as a consistent starter and Alec Pierce is on the waiver wire is completely ridiculous. The gap between these two guys is not as high as people are acting like. Guys, get Alec Pierce on your roster immediately. Next player on my list is going to be DeAndre Hopkins. Now, DeAndre Hopkins is going to light it up when he comes back. Look, he now has a great wide receiver alongside him to help the overall efficiency of the offense. This offense is going to be very good when DeAndre Hopkins comes back. They have Kyler Murray to sling the rock. Look for this to be one of the best offenses in the NFL when DeAndre Hopkins comes back. I mean, seriously, guys, Kyler Murray throwing the ball to Marquise Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Rondale Moore. This offense is going to be electric when DeAndre Hopkins returns. And this is going to provide him very good touchdown upside, very good upside as far as his yardage totals. Look for him to receive 8+ targets a game because without him, this offense seriously is in need of a spark. So they're going to be feeding him the ball like crazy when he comes back, and he is going to be a fantasy monster. So get this guy on your team right now. He hasn't played this year, so he's kind of off a lot of people's radar. Make a trade immediately for DeAndre Hopkins, siphon him off somebody else's bench, and get him on your roster and stash him for the season. Next player on my list is going to be Michael Gallup. Now, Michael Gallup, since coming back to the Cowboys, has been more targeted than Noah Brown. So we knew this was going to happen. Everybody was all on the Noah Brown hype train. And, I love Noah Brown as a player, but I knew that the minute that Michael Gallup came back, he would be the second most targeted wide receiver on the team. This has very much been the case. And, he's just now getting integrated back into the offense. As he progresses and comes back from his injury, he's going to get targeted more and more on a weekly basis. The target share between him and CeeDee Lamb is not going to be as wide of a gap as a lot of people think. He is going to be targeted some games just as much as CeeDee Lamb, and he gets targeted downfield more often than CeeDee Lamb. As far as his average depth of target, the Cowboys prefer Michael Gallup for their deep routes. So whether it's Cooper Rush or Dak Prescott, I love Michael Gallup going forward on the season. And he is a great stash play who can end up being a great wide receiver 2 for you at some point. Guys, this is a massive league-winning player. Get this guy on your bench. Next on my list is going to be A.J. Dillon, onto the running backs. Look, this is a guy who obviously hasn't been as efficient as Aaron Jones. He's only averaging 3.9 yards a carry, whereas Aaron Jones is averaging like 6.5 yards a carry. So there's been a big difference in these players as far as efficiency this year. But a big reason for this is because of the type of run plays that they draw up for A.J. Dillon. They sort of use A.J. Dillon to run up the middle and beat up the defense, whereas they allow Aaron Jones to, run around players and kind of operate on the edges of the field. And, because he's their home run hitter, right? So with that being the case, I love A.J. Dillon nonetheless because, look, he has a 49% opportunity share. So these running backs are splitting carries right down the middle. Okay, so what that means is that on a weekly basis, A.J. Dillon provides flex value for you because not only is he receiving 50% of the carries in this backfield, he's also seeing a pretty similar target share to Aaron Jones. He's actually getting targeted a lot more this year than I think a lot of us expected him. So for your PPR leagues, you can expect 3 or 4 targets in a lot of games for A.J. Dillon. So that provides him significantly better PPR upside. So for the rest of the season, this guy is going to be a great flex. And the biggest reason why I'm saying to stack A.J. Dillon on your bench is because if for whatever reason Aaron Jones happens to come out one of these weeks and go down with an injury, A.J. Dillon immediately will become a top 5 running back in the NFL. He is talented enough to lead a backfield. And if Aaron Jones were to get hurt, he would instantly be one of the best running backs in fantasy. We've seen that this team is starting to lean on the run more and more. A lot of that is because they have Aaron Jones. But even if, hypothetically, say Aaron Jones got hurt, A.J. Dillon would see a ridiculous opportunity share in this backfield. He would run the ball a lot. He would catch more passes out of the backfield, and he would be a huge league-winning player. So he's one of the most elite handcuffs you could possibly have. So stash this guy on your bench. Next player on my list is going to be Tony Pollard. Now, guys, Tony Pollard was tied last year with Nick Chubb and Jonathan Taylor with 5.5 yards per carry. He is one of the most efficient running backs in this league. He has 5.6 yards per carry so far in the young season, 6.3 yards per touch, 10.1 yards per reception. This guy has been ridiculously efficient for a second season in a row. He's clearly the more explosive back in the Cowboys backfield. So as the season progresses, you got to figure the Cowboys are going to be forced, no matter how stubborn they are, to lean on Tony Pollard more because he's just been that good. And if Zeke happened to go down in front of him, watch out. It's Tony Pollard time if Zeke goes down. Tony Pollard has the upside to be the best running back in the NFL, the best running back in fantasy if Zeke were to go down with an injury and Tony Pollard were able to take over the backfield. If he had all the opportunity share in this backfield, he has the upside to be the running back 1 in all of fantasy. So he is pretty much the most elite handcuff you could possibly have. And he already provides standalone value and flex value, even with Zeke running in front of him, because we know that he has that home run hitting ability and the ability to produce massive plays for you. So, he's one of those flex plays that gives you tremendous weekly upside. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning into the video. Stash these players on your bench immediately. They're going to be league winners. All right, guys, catch you later.